Hey guys, we got a Stoneblade matchup here, and full disclaimer, I'm the person on the left playing Aluren, and I brought it because there's a very fair meta at the store. There's very little combo, and Aluren can kind of play fair with everybody, and then also win out of nowhere if necessary. I think that this matchup was heavily favored. I was happy to sit across from Simon. Sorry, buddy. But Simon normally just plays Stoneforge Mystics, True Name Nemesis, and Jace. So the only thing I'm really worried about here is if he brought Underground Seas and he's going to lead on like Thoughtseize, Inquisition, Stoneforge, Jite. That seems like a really scary opener. We both kept 7 here. And I'm also pretty sure I normally know exactly what he's on, and he doesn't typically know what I'm on because I switch decks so often. So it's possible he won't know what I'm on until it might be too late. Simon fetches to 19. Yeah, and gets a black source and Inquisitions me. Me fetching or me playing Forest first probably leads him to believe that he doesn't need basics. So I reveal a hand of Shardless, Parasitic, Leovold, plus a land and a Ponder. And I wasn't not completely sure what he would take here. It depends. I'm ramping up into a turn 2 Leovold or a Shardless Agent regardless. So I can see an argument for both. Most people would just immediately take that Leovold, especially because it's quite possible if I just fired off a Shardless Agent, then I come up on some bad card and just, get a targetless Abrupt Decay off the top. But I believe his line of reasoning here was that Shardless Agent almost always represents a free other card, and he can probably just sword the Leovold later. Either that or he had the force for the Leovold, and in which case he wasn't concerned about it at all. So I'll fetch up to 3 mana and attempt to cast a Leovold, which is going to get quickly forced, and I cannot fight over that. Yep. So here's that start that I mentioned. Inquisition, you see what's going on, force your play, go get Jite, I'm assuming? Yeah. He's seen my hand, so the jig was up as soon as he saw Parasitic Strix, obviously. And it's going to be a really big show of weakness here if I just ponder. But that might be necessary. Depending on the hand, the Aluren player could actually completely disregard this Jite. Like, it seems super scary, right? You don't want anybody to connect with you with a little machine gun artifact like that can gun down all your creatures, but really you can go over the top of it so easily if you actually assemble Aluren that the card doesn't matter at all. So with access to 3 mana again, I can't imagine that I'm casting a Parasitic Strix here. Found 2 mana and I want to cast a Baleful Strix and dig a little bit. That makes more sense. So now a Jite can appear, and yeah, alright, so he misses his land drop. We watch that very carefully. And now the Stoneblade player looks pretty weak because his absolute best play now is just to make a Jite appear at end of turn. I still have some time to sort of put together a creature squad that can beat the Jite, or by going completely over the top of it, like flooding the board here, or searching pretty casually for an Abrupt Decay. So I brainstorm, put 2 back, and then ponder to look a little bit deeper. And without a shuffle there, it appears that the top of the library was actually quite good. So it was possibly just 1 card off the ponder that was still good, with a fetch land left behind, and now he'll just make a Jite. And he expects a decay here. He expects me to make him put the mana into equipping it. And I can remember this game now a little bit. I don't remember all of it, but I do know that there was no decay. He was going to get to attack and kill my stuff if he wanted. Alright, so a True Name with a Jite is much scarier, but knowing that this was a possibility, I believe we would have shuffled if we couldn't beat that. So next turn he gets a Jite on a True Name and starts wailing. And now, watching this from an outside perspective, I really feel like it was obvious that I had a force of will for the True Name, but decided that I could beat it, so I needed to keep a True Name, or I needed to keep insurance for something more important, landing. And what could be more important than keeping a True Name off the board when your opponent already has a Jite? I think it's got to be an Aluren. So Deathrite drains for a little bit. Aluren player untaps with a fresh look at the top of the library and slams Aluren, which resolves very quickly. And since Simon doesn't have any mana up for swords or anything, I think it's quite safe to actually just start cantripping here. Saw a glimpse of a force. Now it's likely that the Aluren was important for me to resolve, but I didn't actually have the kill, or I would have gone for it when the Strix resolved. And I let that happen, and the Jute ticks up, so He's down to one card. That's all he's got. I see. Wonder why I didn't attack with the Baleful Strix last turn. So now you try to bait him into using the GT counters. Drain for 2, drain for 2 again. There's only one card left, which, according to what I saw in the hand earlier, is just a Force of Will. So I do not have the kill. I'm just attempting to play over the top of the GT with a bunch of flyers. So Parasitic Strix is a 2 power flyer, so let's see, 2, 4, 5, 6 in the air, plus Deathrite Drain every turn. Quite quick clock. But a True Name with a GT can gain quite a bit of life also. Okay, what's a Brainstorm resolve? Brainstorm's quite good here because then you can just sort of cascade into whatever you want, or clean the top of your library with something else, like 2 lands back Shardless Agent, or 2 lands back Glint Nest Crane, that sort of thing. Resolve the Brainstorm, get your damage when you can. So there's an attack for 6. So Simon goes to 5 here. With the Parasitic Strixes gaining that much life and an active Deathrite, the True Name can no longer really race anything. So what can it do? It can attack, get 4 more counters, and then that's 8 life. So we can live through another attack step. The GT connects again, goes up to 4 counters. He hasn't been sandbagging anything in his hand. I'm pretty convinced that it's, bad. So exile a Force, put him to 3. Untap with the Owl Squad. Play a 5th land for Force of Will. And then force Simon to use the life gain off of GT, otherwise he will die. I believe that's an announcement to gain 8 life, which should put him to 11. Yeah. So he gets to 11 during combat, gets attacked for 6, puts himself at 5. And his out here is definitely just Supreme Verdict. But I'm just going to end the game now. Okay, so he played out his last land so that he could hardcast a Force of Will. And I'll fetch and show him that I have a force for that also, and he'll be forced to scoop the cards. Okay, so that was a very typical game 1 for a fair blue deck against Aluren, where a lot of their answers don't really line up all that well, and if an Aluren resolves, then you're going to lose. But even more so, even without an Aluren, the raw quality of a never-ending stream of Baleful Strixes can usually outgrind by themselves. Simon did not have a bad start that game by any means, but it's difficult to fight through an opponent winning the die roll and then immediately casting a Deathrite Shaman, which is an absurd magic card, and following up with a bunch of Baleful Strixes. And the more I think about it, the more I really like taking the Shardless Agent, because there's no way that I wasn't going to cast a Leopold, even kind of suspecting a Force of Will. From both players' perspectives, they're doing okay with that, right? Because he spent his first turn removing a Shardless Agent from hand for the low cost of 1 mana, which is great. Then, from my perspective, I still got to ramp into a turn 2 must answer 3 mana dude in Leovold, who immediately ate a Force of Will, which I was okay with because I still got 2 cards out of it, and I ramped into him on turn 2 anyway. So from the boarding perspective, I think Simon's going to have more Supreme Verdicts, and stuff like Vendilion Click I would also suggest that the Stoneblade player in this situation bring in Pithing Needles and any more discard that they can round up. I wouldn't even be opposed to seeing a player get Surgical Extraction for value here. Aluren is a deck that has a couple of moving parts that it doesn't function very well without. Even if I had an Aluren, which is probably bad for you, Surgicaling Cavern Harpy out of the deck is probably enough to make the Aluren player stumble and never really get anything done. But all in all, it's going to be pretty fair. From experience, I think that Simon has to keep his forces in, but I get to take all of mine out. And then I get to play even more value stuff in their place, namely things like Carpet of Flowers and additional copies of Abrupt Decay if I wanted it. But the boarding is probably pretty light. Just take out some forces and then add some way of dealing with equipment. Maybe add some Cabal Therapy if you're really worried about them disrupting your plan here. But game plan number 1 is going to continue to just be play really good undercosted bug-colored creatures until your opponent gives up. Some random debris on the battlefield, I don't know what that is. Simon has taken the play and then promptly mulled to 6, and I have kept on the draw up 1 game. I think that Simon is searching for a hand that doesn't have too much land but has just enough, i.e. 2, and a Ponder and a Brainstorm and an Inquisition and a Thoughtseize and a Stoneforge. So let's see how close to that little mixture he could get. All I can really see here is island. Oh, Simon forgot his scry, and I usually, man, I pride myself on showing people, or always reminding people if they're going to miss it. So I completely missed that scry. So turn 1 creeping tar pit, which is, you know, an acceptable start. He would prefer to play a black source in Inquisition me. So on this ponder I see a Jite, a fetch land. Probably hide that Jite from hand disruption there. Sure. Baleful Strix. Baleful Strix probably one of the really strong draws towards an Esper base rather than a blue-white-red base. Thoughtseize is insanely strong against the combo matches that these Stoneblade decks might have a lot of problems dealing with sometimes. You also, Baleful Strix is just fantastic against all of these scary threats in the format. Even against combo decks sometimes. I mean, I played against Show and Tell the other day where I brought a Baleful Strix out on turn 2, and then turn 3 they cast a Show and Tell, and they brought Grizzlebrand, and I brought Leovold. Now what is Grizzlebrand going to do on a board where he can't draw cards and he can only attack to gain 7 life and trade with the Baleful Strix? I mean, this Owl just does so much work against Eldrazi and even Delver matchups where you've got no way of dealing with this Gurmag Angler staring you down or whatever. I mean, Tarmogoyf isn't much of a threat anymore, but... Okay, so there, Simon offers a trade because he knows he has another one. I decline the trade because I have a Jite that I really want to cast and equip. So I will take the pack damage. I have no interest in trading my Strix for his at this point. So the Jite resolves, and since that resolves, I'm unsure if this is mana to... Oh, well, if it's a Bayou, then it must be mana for a Deathrite. And as soon as we can get a Jite equipped, it's totally fine to go ahead and offer up the trade. Next turn. I believe at this point someone walked up and moved the camera in the middle of a match, and I probably gave him some lip about it. Hey man, I'm recording here for my YouTube channel with 3 viewers, man. So he gets a second white source, and I have him pegged on just Supreme Verdict here. So if he attacks, I think I will take the trade, because there's no way that he's not wiping the board here. Ah. Okay. Well, in that case, it's almost exactly the same, except I get to keep my Deathrite. So he casts an EE for 2, we're going to lose him. He's still going to blow it to kill a Jite. So I will take that trade anyways. And if I don't have anything better to do, or I've got other 2-drops in my hand and I need the EE cleared off, then I guess we just equip. Okay, that's way better. That's way better than just equipping and losing your turn. Just gonna force the Leovold. I doubt I'm gonna fight. Yeah, I can't fight. Post board, I just don't have any tools to fight over things like that. We still have our Jite out there. He's down. He's down a Brainstorm and a Force of Will because we put Leovold out there. Yeah, makes sense. Jite goes bye-bye along with his Strix. This would probably be a moment in time where I'm suspecting Jace. Yeah, that's really the only thing that he could have had in his hand, and probably why he would care so much about a Leovold when otherwise he could just Verdict or Swords it away. Sword in a post-board game against Leovold is a fine answer because I'm fully aware that he knows that I'm not playing with very many Force of Wills. So untap and in main phase 1, cast a Carpet. Go to main phase 2, I'm assuming. Yeah, made 2 mana with a Carpet, and then cast a Shardless Agent. Get a Baleful Strix, draw a card. Recast the Deathrite Shaman. So the board's looking pretty scary for Jace now. Even if you get rid of the 2-power creature somehow, I mean, if he could plus. Well, he didn't, but he brainstormed. So Jace is stuck at 2, which means that even if he found a way to deal with a Shardless Agent, then I could still opt to attack with 2 1-power creatures and kill him regardless. So the Jace is being sacrificed. Unless, well, Supreme Verdict would have been perfect for that Brainstorm. There's just no way out of that for me. I believe Simon's configuration is 2 Verdicts main and 1 side, and even though it seems like a really slow card, I think that it's really strong in this matchup, and especially if I'm playing the value game, you can 3-for-1 me, set me way back, and the only way that you're going to get punished for it is if you do it with an active Aluren out. So it's pretty good if you're hitting the turn before, which you probably can if you're on the play and you dealt with a Deathrite Shaman. So he's searching hard for that Verdict. He still technically can do it. So we got 1 Brainstorm off Jace and a fetch, and then another Brainstorm. And if you cannot kill all the creatures, then now you have to accept that Jace is going to die. What is our next best thing that we could do? There's a Stoneforge for another shuffle. Found Jite. Simon smartly grabbed a Scrubland instead of a Tundra on his last fetch. So because of that creeping tar pit, I am still only making 2 mana off of the carpet a turn. I don't want anybody blocking. Use the rest of that carpet mana and cast a Leovold. I believe Leovold has to be on this stack here. Oh, I see. Okay, so like I was talking about before, Jace is at 2, so even if he swords the Shardless Agent, I can just attack with the 2 little guys, and Jace is going to die regardless, so he knows that he has to let me get a draw off the Leovold with the sword, but I'm going to force that anyway. It's possible that I had so few cards to bring in that I just brought in 2 carpets for 2 forces and said that's good. I was pretty lucky to find a force there. But now I'm really, really vulnerable to a Supreme Verdict because it's become obvious now that there's no Aluren. And for whatever reason, I have chosen to remove a land from his graveyard, tapping my Deathrite, and then pass the turn. Awkward. There's no delve threats that I have to be worried about, so there's no way that that was correct. I must have just thought that I had a ponder in my hand or something when I didn't. Or mistapped and thought that I had some way of casting something. Finds another Stoneforge, tutors up a Batterskull. The hand is now Batterskull, Jite. Jite has gotten a lot worse because of the Leovold. I found the Aluren. So Carpet generates 2 mana, Aluren comes down. And now you can go to attack steps. Yeah, you don't have to just tap for that. Okay, so click. Yeah, so as a Aluren player, you always go to combat and then force the action on someone else before you do anything. So click resolves, targets me, Leovold draws a card, cascade into a brainstorm. Cast a Glint Nest Crane. Look at 4 cards and whiffed them all. Likely just because I put some dead cards back on top to get rid of with the Crane anyway. Cast a Parasitic Strix, targeting you. Click is resolved here, but we're not at blocks. Okay, so now he looks at my hand. And this is interesting because I went through my hand getting rid of anything that he could take, Now, I don't know the top of my library, but taking the Ponder seems right because it gives me 3 looks. But you're also allowing an Aluren player to draw a card and possibly replace that with a top decked creature, of which there are many. And here, I think Simon is trying to go to blocks to kill the Leovold, and I'm explaining that I don't want to let him get to blocks yet because I ripped the Cavern Harpy. And here I say, I'm gonna cast the Cavern Harpy. I believe I do this because I'm in such a good position that even if he quote-unquote gets the blowout and deals with my Cavern Harpy while it's on the stack, it doesn't matter anymore because I've got so much value on the table already. And there's the second Cavern Harpy. So now there's actually 0 ways to beat Aluren when they're in this configuration, because any way you could try to deal with one of the harpies on the stack, the other one will come down. And there's the Strix. And he shows a single Force of Will, and that'll be game 2.